The following portion of Showcase is sponsored by Trustice Law Group. For those who've gone through child custody cases, there are a lot of myths about what happens if a family situation changes. Well, helping us get to the truth today is Shameka Rhoades, CEO and Managing Attorney with Trustice Law Group. Let's talk about child support changes. If someone loses a job or their income changes for any reason, how does that work?
So what they would need to do is go back to court and file a motion to amend it. What they don't do is come to an agreement with the other parent and don't change it with the court. Because if they don't, what I've seen happen is the other parent comes back later and says, you owe me all this money that you didn't pay me. And they will then owe all that money that they didn't pay.
Okay, so it needs to be on the books, on the record,
Yes.
going through the right way, even if you have a great relationship with that
Even if you have a great relationship, you all can write up an agreement and then send it to the court and have the court enter it as an order. But it needs to be an order if there was a previous order.
That is really important information, I'm sure, for a lot of people.
Yes.
Can custody be changed after the court enters that order?
Yes, custody can always be changed. They would then also have to file a motion to amend, but there must be a material change in circumstance. And what that means is something big had to happen. So if one parent is talking about moving somewhere else, relocating, or if someone else, and there can be good changes, someone got married and now they're more stable, or they found a new place to live, they can then file to ask the court to change the custody or visitation.
But you got to do it in the proper way.
You have to do it in the proper way.
What about visitation? Can that be stopped if the other parent is not paying child support?
It cannot. Those two things are totally separate. The court does not care if they aren't paying child support when it relates to visitation. Now, there is some means to go about filing if they don't pay their child support. You can get a consequence for that. But stopping visitation is not one of those consequences, and that will go very bad for the parent who's withholding the child over child support.
Okay, so even if you're the one doing the right thing, you could get in trouble if you're not going through the proper procedure. You can't just decide, I'm going to hold this against you in my own way.
Exactly.
You need to go through the court system.
Yes, it has to go through the courts.
Okay, what happens if the other parent ignores the custody or support order? How does that work?
They would have to go, the parent who's not receiving their custody visitation or receiving their whatever they're supposed to get from the order, they can go back to court and file what's called a show cause.
Okay.
And it's basically where it tells the court, I want you to make this person explain why they're disobeying the order. And judges don't like when people don't follow their orders.
I'm sure.
So it usually does not go well.
And you've talked before about how documentation is really important through this process.
Yes.
If someone doesn't show up, if they're not doing the right thing, how do we need to document that?
Well, what I tell people is get a calendar, or we give out what's called a custody and visitation journal. And it's basically where you can just write everything down. You can write down when they're supposed to have visitation, if they show up, if they don't show up, if they show up late, when they're supposed to have phone calls, if you call and they don't let you speak to the child, if you go to do your visitation and they won't let you have it, if they don't return the child on the day they're supposed to, or if they're late, like those things you write down so that when you come to court, you can say, well, Judge, I have this list of times, not, oh, well, I think it was 3 weeks ago, or
Right.
it might have been a month ago. You have exact dates and times and all the information written out.
I think some of us can't even remember why we walked into a room 5 minutes ago. So
That's
trying
me.
to remember something really important for a judge, you do want to make sure that you've got that
I
documented.
tell people, write it down, because you will not know months from now when your hearing is.
All right, so I'm hearing you also say you've got to follow all the rules that were given to you, not take things into your own hands, and make sure you've got written proof of everything.
Exactly.
Excellent. Some really good advice today. Thank you so much. You can schedule your consultation with Trustice Law Group. Super easy. You can just scan that QR code you see on your screen right now, or click trustice.us. You can follow them on social media or call for your appointment 804-570-1827. Thank you so much for all this great advice today. And the preceding portion of Showcase was sponsored by Trustice Law Group.